Joining us on the Western Hotline, old friend. We meet again, Carrington Harrison. Carrington, thanks for taking some time. I was on your show last week. I said I hope to talk to you this week, and here we are for another Bills-Chiefs playoff matchup.
You want to know how I know that it's Chiefs and Bills week? There's a couple of signs. Number one, you send me a text. I'm always happy. I know it's coming. I know you're going to send me a text. The second reason that I know is Matt Milano is on the injury report. He's always hurt whenever the Chiefs and Bills play each other. I'm not even sure if Matt Milano is real at this point. You guys remember the Cowboys had this linebacker. His name was, Dat Wynn. You remember Dat Wynn? Dat Wynn was always hurt. Dat Wynn is now Matt Milano. You do get a second chance at life.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We actually don't even really know if he's hurt or not. It's just like weird that he came off and no one knows why. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that could be right.
He's always hurt. You know he's hurt.
Yeah. Well, Carrington, it's another matchup, and there's a million ways to kind of like rehash how these have all gone. The Bills do well in the regular season. The Chiefs find their answers in the postseason. I guess I want to ask you, most of this year, the story about the Chiefs has been how they're obviously very good, but it's just one-score games. They're just getting by. And to my eye, that kind of changed down the stretch. Have they gotten better as the season has gone along?
Yeah, absolutely. It was funny. When the Chiefs had that 3 games in 11 days stretch, it was kind of like that was their rallying cry. I know the perception around the Chiefs is they're like these golden boy pampered by the league, but the Chiefs don't really do a lot of complaining. But I would say the Chiefs, they started complaining about that stretch before the stretch even started. Mahomes said something about it. DeAndre Hopkins said something about it. Chris Jones. So, like, the veterans of the team kind of used it as, hey, this isn't fair. We've done everything the league wants us to do, and they have us playing on the 15th, 21st, and 25th of December. And the Chiefs just really rallied around those 3 games and just came out swinging. They played the Cleveland Browns. They beat up on them. And then they had 2 playoff teams. They had Houston and Pittsburgh in back-to-back games, and they really dominated those games. And I thought that gave the Chiefs really good momentum heading into the postseason where, all right, we have the 1 seed clinched. We can rest. We can, be ready for the postseason and go from there. That was kind of the turning point for this team, I think, was that stretch where they had those 3 games in 11 days.
When Marquise Brown came back, which was right around that same time, it seemed like the offense had a little more jump to it. How much do you think his return has mattered to that? And, the other weapons too, like Worthy and Kelce, like is it in your eyes too that the team looks more polished, especially offensively, down the stretch than they were early in the year?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think this is the most complete their offense has been since the Tyreek Hill trade. Now, I know it's not really evidence of what we just saw in the postseason games. It was funny because Juju didn't have a catch, Hollywood didn't have a catch, and DeAndre Hopkins. The only wide receiver that had a catch was Xavier Worthy in that game. But I do think that the Chiefs just have more weapons than before. You've got 2 running backs with Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt. So the team just has more, and we already know in the postseason you can just write down that Travis Kelce is going to have 80 yards on Sunday. Like, that's the floor of how many yards he's going to have. He could have 150 yards, but he's not having 27 in a game of this magnitude. That I just think last year they went into it with only 3 players that they trusted offensively. Now there's probably 5 to 7 players they trust on offense.
A diversity of weapons might be something these 2 teams have in common. On Kelce, I saw Mahomes was asked about. You asked him about this. Could it be Travis Kelce's last home game?
Yeah, he came on the show yesterday, and it's certainly a topic. Now, I don't think that Travis Kelce is retiring, but sometimes you just got to ask the question and see what happens. So, I don't want to get super deep into Kelce's contract, but Kelce has a roster bonus of $16.5 million if he's on the team March 1st. And so I don't think that Travis Kelce is giving up the $16 million, but at his age and where he is in his career, you have to always think, hey, this is their last home game of the year. Could Travis Kelce retire at the end of the season if they win the Super Bowl again? So, yeah, I asked him if he thought that Sunday could be Kelce's last game at Arrowhead.
What about Worthy while we're on the weapons? These 2 teams will be connected through that trade at the draft. And from my eyes, Carrington, he looks like he's become a more well-rounded receiver as the year's gone on. You just mentioned he was the only receiver with a catch in the game. So, I mean, I don't think he's the number 1, right? Because that's Kelce, or would you say Worthy and Kelce are maybe even on kind of equal playing fields for their importance to the offense?
Yeah, I would have said that Worthy was the number one before the postseason, but just when the postseason happens, I don't know what it is. Travis Kelce just turns into a different person. It's funny because against Houston, I know you guys watched the game. I mean, it wasn't like Kelce was really great. It just was Houston just had no interest in covering Travis Kelce, and we're like, hey, just do what you want to do in the middle of the field. Yeah, I would say that I think the biggest difference maybe in the Chiefs' offense from when the Bills played them earlier in the season was I think they were so hell-bent on trying to have Xavier Worthy be that down-the-field big home run threat that they were just always looking for that one big play downfield. I think they've kind of gone away from that, and they've kind of used Xavier Worthy more as an extension of the run game. Screens, kind of like how they used Rashee Rice last year. And when they've kind of found his role and his niche on this offense, he's really flourished, and it's just really expanded for him. He's probably not going to be a guy that has 100 yards on Sunday, but he's going to have 4 catches for 65 yards, and he's going to have one play that kind of starts as a play that seems mundane, but he's going to make one guy miss, and with his speed, he's going to turn it into a 30-yard gain. Once they've kind of found what Xavier Worthy could do in this offense, that's also another thing that's really got it going.
Carrington Harrison of 610 Sports Radio in Kansas City. All right, so the defense also got healthier too. Jalen Watson's return. I'd seen some numbers throughout the season where when he got hurt, the Chiefs' defense started giving up explosive plays. He was designated to return. How big of a difference is it when he's in there?
Yeah, so a big stat with Jalen Watson was teams completed 60% of their passes when Jalen Watson was healthy. They completed 68% of their passes when he got hurt. So he's just been a drastic difference defensively for what it is. I actually think if we are going of like total picture and kind of like why I'm picking the Chiefs to win this game, number one, it's home, and kind of like last week with Baltimore, like I picked Buffalo because I just never seen Lamar win that kind of game before in his career, and I got to see it first before I pick it. I think the reason Buffalo won the first time is I think that Buffalo really exploited the Chiefs' defensive line. And on that fourth down play where Buffalo decides to go for it, I just don't think Kansas City had the push to stop them. Now with Charles Omenihu, their defensive line is just radically different than it was the last time. You saw on Saturday against the Texans, their defensive line just got so much constant pressure, and that's really transformed their defense the last 6 weeks or so. When they've gotten him back, it's changed the pass rush for Chris Jones. It's changed things for George Karlaftis, who had 3 sacks. Mike Dana, who's a rotational piece that maybe isn't going to get the national conversation. He's been really good. The addition of Charles Omenihu, who was out for the first Bills game with a torn ACL, and now he's back. He's really, really been maybe their most important acquisition the second half of the season. A lot of people talk about D-Hop and some of the other moves. Them getting Charles Omenihu has been the biggest positive for this team.
All right, you think the Chiefs will win, which that's fine. You know, you picked the Bills to beat the Chiefs back in Week 11. If the Bills do win, what is it that happens in this game that you think turns it?
I think it's Josh Allen. I mean, I know there's been a lot of back and forth on who the NFL MVP is. I think there were certainly times throughout the year you could argue that Josh Allen was playing as better than any quarterback in the NFL. I mean, I also think, you know, one of the things I've kind of been like stewing in my head and kind of waiting to talk about on the show is eventually Josh Allen wins this game. Just history tells you this. Eventually Peyton Manning beat Tom Brady. Tom Brady was not undefeated all time against Peyton Manning. Eventually it happened. How long can Kansas City continue to stay ahead of the Buffalo Bills? They've played this game 3 times. The Chiefs have won 3 times. Josh Allen is eventually going to win one of these games. Is that game going to be Sunday? These teams are too even for the Chiefs to win every single playoff matchup. The question is, are they going to win Sunday's matchup?
And one more for me, Carrington. You're also watching a Chiefs team that's going for history, trying to win 3 straight. Has that meant, or do you think that is added pressure at all? Or is there, I would think there's less pressure when you have already won it before. Not to say that if you lose, it's okay, but here are the Bills trying to win the Super Bowl for the first time in franchise history. The Chiefs are trying to do it for a 3rd time in a row. And I wonder if you feel like that adds pressure or allows them to play a little looser.
I don't think it adds any pressure just because in the last 5 years, the Chiefs have been in every situation that you can be in. You know, like They were down 24-3 in a playoff game. They've been down double digits with 8 minutes to go in the Super Bowl. They won a Super Bowl in overtime last year. Like, every kind of pressure situation you can have, the Chiefs have been in. So we have the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holtis, on the show every week, and he said that Sunday is the biggest game he believes that Arrowhead has ever had when you factor in who the opponent is and what it means. Like, the Chiefs fans, as badly as Buffalo won it last year, just Kansas City's in their building, they finally want to beat them. That's how Chiefs fans are about this one, just because of what it symbolizes. If the Chiefs win this, they will be the first team in history to have a chance at 3 straight Super Bowls. And I think a lot of it is kind of centered around, people want Mahomes to go down as the greatest quarterback of all time. Everything Mahomes has done, Brady has done at this point in his career. There is 2 games, a possibility. If the Chiefs win those 2 games, Brady can say, or Mahomes can say, that he has done something that no quarterback has ever been able to do. And I think a lot of Chiefs fans want that, not just for the Chiefs, but I think they also want that for Patrick.
If they win, it'll also create this weird record of the Bills winning 4 regular season games in a row and the Chiefs winning all the playoff games. When you hear that, or if that were to happen, what to you is the most reasonable explanation for why that is? Is it something on the Bills side? Is it something on the Chiefs side? Both? If it comes to be that it's the polar opposite, the Bills will win every regular season matchup and the Chiefs every playoff matchup. Why do you think that happens?
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know. I don't mean to not answer the question. I don't know how much that matters, because I think these teams are so close. I think we just saw, in the divisional round, the only thing that really matters in this game is turnover differential. We just saw that in the last round of the playoffs. The team that makes the mistakes, football is defined by 5 to 8 plays. The Chiefs just usually make those 5 to 8 plays in this game. Buffalo had the lead with 13 seconds to go. The Chiefs just make 2 great plays. They make the kick. It goes to overtime. Buffalo doesn't get the ball. In the last game that these 2 teams played in the regular season, Buffalo had a chance to end the Chiefs. 4th down. You got to get a stop here, Kansas City. You got to get off the field here. Buffalo makes that play. Can Buffalo make 1 or 2 plays that they haven't made in these postseason matchups? And who protects the football on Sunday?
Right. Carrington Harrison. Carrington, thanks again. Enjoy the game on Sunday.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot for having me today.
All right, Carrington Harrison, 610 Sports Radio in Kansas City. We do it every time. We'll do it again next year. They play next year.